Our brains are wired to find patterns, right? It's how we make sense of everything. But every once in a while, history serves up a connection that's so bizarre, so unlikely, it feels less like a pattern and more like a glitch in the system. Let's dive into some of the most mind blowing coincidences ever recorded where reality is truly stranger than fiction.
So let's kick things off with a story that sounds like it was ripped from the pages of a fantasy novel. Except for the really, really dark ending. This is the incredible case of a king who, one day, met his perfect twin.
Okay, so picture this. It's July 1900. King Umberto I of Italy walks into a small restaurant. The owner comes out to greet him, and they both just stop and stare because they look exactly alike, like identical twins. But oh, it gets so much weirder. As they start talking, they realize they were both named Umberto, born on the exact same day in the exact same town. And that's not all. They both married a woman named Margherita, and they both had a son named Vittorio. I mean, you can't make this stuff up.
The king was absolutely floored, so he invited his doppelganger to an event with him the very next day. But this is where their incredible connection takes a seriously tragic turn. On the afternoon of July 29th, the restaurant owner was killed in a freak shooting accident. Just a few hours later, that same evening, King Umberto I was assassinated. Two mirrored lives extinguished on the exact same day. All right, so that's a coincidence between two people living at the same time. But what if the coincidence is between a story someone just made up and a future that hasn't even happened yet? Let's look at those spooky moments when fiction seems to write the script for reality. So, 14 years before the Titanic sank, a novelist named Morgan Robertson wrote a book. It was about this massive, supposedly unsinkable ship called the Titan. And the similarities are just jaw-dropping. In his novel, the Titan was the biggest ship of its time, it didn't have enough lifeboats for everyone, and it sank in the North Atlantic in April after hitting an iceberg. Sound familiar? It's almost a perfect blueprint. But if you thought that was eerie, hold on. An even more chilling prediction came from, of all people, the master of horror himself, Edgar Allan Poe. Back in 1838, he wrote his only novel, and it included this really gruesome story about a shipwreck. Well, fast forward 46 years to 1884, and that work of fiction became a horrifying reality. See, in Poe's book, a group of shipwrecked sailors draw straws to decide who's going to be, well, eaten so the others can survive. The name of the unlucky guy in the story? Richard Parker. Now, in the real-life shipwreck of the Mignonette in 1884, the survivors did the exact same horrific thing. And the 17-year-old cabin boy they killed so they could live, his name was also Richard Parker. It's a chilling moment where life didn't just imitate art, it copied it word for word. So far, we've talked about coincidences that affected a handful of people. But what about a coincidence that changed the entire course of human history, all because of one single, incredibly unlucky mistake? We all know that the First World War started with the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand in Sarajevo. It's in all the history books, but what those books often don't emphasize is that this world-changing event almost didn't happen. It was a failed plot that was saved by a completely random bit of bad luck.
Okay, so here's how it went down. The first assassination attempt that day was a total failure. A bomb literally bounced off the Archduke's car. The whole plot was a bust. One of the assassins, a young guy named Gavrilo Princip, basically just gives up and goes to a deli to get a sandwich. But then, the Archduke's driver takes a wrong turn down a side street, realizes his mistake, and stops the car to reverse. And it stalls, right in front of the exact deli where Princip is standing. His target, who he'd given up all hope of finding, was now just sitting there, a few feet away. Princip, of course, took his second chance. And that single shot, made possible by one wrong turn, triggered a chain reaction that plunged the world into a war that claimed over 20 million lives. The weight of that one tiny coincidence is just, it's almost impossible to get your head around.
As unbelievable as that was, some coincidences are so mathematically improbable, they seem to just laugh in the face of statistics. These are the stories that really make you wonder if the universe is playing by any rules at all. Get ready for this one. In Bermuda, two brothers, Neville and Erskine Eben, were killed in traffic accidents 1 year apart. Now, here's the crazy part. Both were 17 years old.
both were riding the same moped down the same street, and unbelievably, both were killed by the exact same taxi, driven by the exact same driver who was carrying the exact same passenger. The odds on that are just, well, they're astronomical.
And then you have the story of Tsutomu Yamaguchi. This man holds one of the most unfortunate and, frankly, unbelievable distinctions in all of human history. He is the only person officially recognized by Japan's government as having survived not one, but 2 nuclear bombs. So he was in Hiroshima on a business trip when the first atomic bomb was dropped. He was badly burned, but he survived. And somehow, he manages to get on a train back home to Nagasaki. He actually reports for work 3 days later, only for the second bomb to be detonated, again less than 2 miles from where he was. Incredibly, he survived that blast too, and he went on to live to be 93. So, after hearing all of these stories, after seeing these impossible connections lining up, you have to ask the big question. What is actually going on here? Is this all just random chaos? I mean, the list is endless. You've got the Jim twins, separated at birth, who both named their dog Toy, married women named Linda, then Betty, and drove the same model of car. You have Mark Twain, who was born when Halley's Comet appeared and predicted, correctly, that he would go out with it, dying the day after it returned 76 years later. And how about the fact that 3 of America's founding fathers, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, and James Monroe, all died on the 4th of July? So here's the question we're left with. Are these stories just statistical blips? You know, with billions of people and trillions of moments, a few weird things are bound to happen, right? Or are these moments something else? Are they little glimpses behind the curtain? Hints of some hidden order suggesting that the universe is far, far stranger than any of us can possibly imagine? What do you think?